Apple shares are just getting hammered this morning.
We're down by between 3 and 4.5% generally across these markets. Let's talk about the speed with which we are watching this market deteriorate. We're red everywhere, essentially, down by 4-5%.
We're down over 16%. Dow at the same time has fallen about 18%.
The stock market is now down 21%.
Because we're now down 43%.
What in the world?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Trading for Life. Sorry for being absent last week. I was sick, but now I'm fully back, and we've got a lot to talk about. Deals may matter more than data right now, even inflation numbers, as investors look for clarity on President Donald Trump's tariff plans in the week ahead. According to Adrian Helfert, Chief Investment Officer at Westwood, the market is more focused on tariff developments, maybe even more than the Fed meeting last week. Fed Chair Jerome Powell highlighted the uncertainty in Wednesday's press conference after the expected decision to keep interest rates unchanged. The Fed is balancing inflation and unemployment. Tight policy might be needed if inflation rises, but weak growth could lead to cuts. Powell made it clear they're not in a rush to act. Also, today the White House announced a trade deal between China and the US, and the S&P 500 is up 1.5% on the news. Stay with us. We have a lot more to cover. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get into the news. A major bond trade collapsed in April, likely causing the biggest spike in long-term Treasury yields since 1987. Fed official Roberto Perli says the sudden unwinding of the swap spread trade worsened the liquidity crunch after Trump announced new tariffs on April 2nd. At first, investors rushed into bonds, but yields on 30-year treasuries quickly reversed, rising nearly 50 basis points in a week. Warren Buffett's leadership and investment genius will be missed as he steps down as CEO of Berkshire Hathaway at the end of the year, handing the reins to Greg Abel. Some say Berkshire's best days are over, but that overlooks Buffett's true legacy, building an organization designed to thrive without him. Abel's promotion is just the first step in a long-planned transition. As CEO, he'll manage Berkshire's vast operations, allocate capital, and represent the company publicly, much of which he's already doing as vice chair. Tech stocks are leading again after a rough start to 2025, helping markets bounce back from April's slide triggered by Trump's new tariffs. The Magnificent Seven mega-cap tech firms are driving the rebound, but investors are now asking, can tech keep the momentum going? And how should they prepare if volatility returns? The US and China ended 2 days of trade talks on a positive note Sunday, with both sides signaling progress. US officials spoke of a deal to cut the trade deficit, while China highlighted an important consensus and a new economic dialogue forum. Details are expected in a joint statement Monday from Geneva, with Chinese officials hinting at good news for the world. Now let's review some data. We begin with investors have been rushing to safety in 2025. The S&P 500 is down 3.8% year-to-date, after dropping as much as 15% in April. Meanwhile, defensive sectors like utilities and consumer staples are up 6.8% and 3.5%. Safe haven assets are surging too. Gold is up 27%, and the Swiss franc has gained 9%. U.S. consumers are under serious financial stress. A record 12% of Americans aged 20 to 64 now have credit card debt that's 30 days past due. Among the lowest income cardholders, delinquencies have hit 18%, the highest level in 22 years. Wall Street is bracing for stagflation. Forecasts now see core PCE inflation at approximately 3.0% for 2025, up from 2.5%, and GDP growth slowing to approximately 1.4%, down from 2.2%. Stagflation typically means falling stocks and rising treasury yields. But will that play out this time? What are oil prices trying to tell us? Over the last 4 months, oil prices have dropped approximately 25%, signaling a global economic slowdown. At the same time, copper prices have held up quite well and have increased 9%, with most gains occurring in March due to tariff front-loading. The S&P 500 is trading at a massive technical level. The S&P 500 has recovered some losses and broken above its 50-day moving average for the first time since February. However, it is still trading below its key 200-day moving average, a level smart money is watching. Final S&P 500 weekly heat map. Good week for Tesla, which was up almost 4%. Nvidia rose 1.83%, and Microsoft remained flat. Tough week for Alphabet, down more than 6%. Apple fell 3.32%, and big pharma stocks saw losses, with Eli Lilly dropping 11%. The Fear and Greed Index is back in greed territory, now at 62. With the US and China agreeing to move forward on a trade deal, we could see extreme greed levels later this week. Now let's see what earnings we do have for this week earnings. Monday, Monday.com, Rigetti Computing, AST Space Mobile, NewScale Power, Plug Power. Tuesday, JD.com, Sealated, CyberArk, Under Armour, On Holding, Honda, Oklo, New Holdings. Wednesday, Cisco Systems, CrowdStrike, Sony, Tencent, Jack in the Box. Thursday, Walmart, Alibaba, NetEase, Deere & Company, Birkenstock, Applied Materials, Kava Group, Take-Two Interactive, Virgin Galactic. Friday, no major earnings scheduled. Let's start with the SPY 4-hour chart. Bulls remain in control, with futures gapping up on optimism around the China deal. The next upside target is around 585. However, if the deal falls through or any negative headlines emerge, we could see a sharp sell-off in the broader market. Next up, QQQ 4-hour chart. The setup remains bullish, with an upside target at 503, a major resistance level where bears could step in. But as mentioned earlier, everything hinges on the China deal and the proposed 90-day tariff pause. Any setback there could shift momentum quickly. Let's wrap up the video with key events for this week. On Tuesday, US CPI inflation. On Thursday, Walmart earnings, US PPI inflation. US retail sales, initial jobless claims. New York Fed Manufacturing Survey. Philadelphia Federal Reserve Manufacturing Survey. Fed Chair Powell speech. On Friday, University of Michigan consumer sentiment. University of Michigan inflation expectations. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's all for this week's video. I hope you enjoyed it and found some value. If you did, please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.